At this point, it seems like I'm, for some reason, just like the Trisha whisperer, or like a, what do they call the Christian? They called them Christorians. I'm a Tristorian. Trishtorian. I don't know, but we've been doing a lot of content on this. But you know what? People say, Papa, what do you think about this? And then I give you my thoughts on it. And you want to know what? If I talk a lot about Trisha, I guess that just means she's interesting, which is hurts to say, but it's kind of the reality of the world. Um, yeah. So it says addressing things. I don't really know what she's going to address. It's probably going to be like some weird gaslighting BS. I do know that she went on to Keemstar's thing the other day, the mom's basement, after she accused him of like being very inappropriate because she was or he was dating a 20-year-old at 39, which is like weird, but like who cares, honestly. And but she like really morally loaded it, saying that he was basically like preying on this girl and everything. So I'm assuming it has something to do with that. I don't really know. I will say that it's weird that she went on the podcast. If she truly thinks that he's that bad of a person, is actually doing something wrong, and he's a bad guy in general, but we're specifically talking about this instance of who he's dating, then unless she's addressing those things, it's really dishonest to go on there and have a friendly conversation with somebody that you think is morally reprehensible. And I don't know yet because I haven't seen it. I don't think it's on Podbean. What the fuck am I saying? Spotify yet. I don't think it's up yet. I don't really know. I haven't seen it. I mean, I could check right now, but I haven't seen it. But like historically, Trisha's always in it for the clout. That's it. She doesn't really care about what's right and wrong as long as she's making money. So let's watch it at 25% increased speed, and let's hope it's not too fast.
All right, so this is not the video I wanted to be filming this morning.
Okay. Wow. Let's give it a once over.
All right, so this is not the video I wanted to be filming this morning.
Much better.
Okay, so it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy the amount of hate and toxic behavior from a fandom. This is the most toxic I've ever felt, and I have
really out of breath.
I have nothing to apologize for. I'm not going to apologize. I'm going to go through some of these comments I'm getting. First of all, my Instagram is just all snake emojis. So childish.
Oh, I'm going to assume it's Ethan's. Yeah. So Ethan was like really sad about Trisha Paytas talking to Keemstar, and I actually made a take on it. And I was like, dude, stop caring. Like she claims that she tried to ruin his life, and I agree. I believe it. I'm with him on that. So why are you so emotionally invested in Trisha? I get it. Moses is going to marry her, but like the way that you should be interacting is like how you do at any party. You are respectful to the person, but you don't engage with them. You weren't betrayed. Honestly, Ethan wasn't betrayed. Trisha is just being Trisha. Like a snake, for sure. But the fact that he's crying about it is pathetic. You know what I mean? Like, both of them are very toxic individuals, in my opinion. I mean, like, dude, get over it. Move on. Stop caring about Trisha. Like, you see her at a party, be nice to her. You don't need to be involved in her life anymore. And, like, it's kind of pathetic. But then on the flip side, like, the toxic Ethan fans giving her shit is kind of funny. So let's see what happens.
All snake emojis. Because not only did Ethan tweet, but he also TikToked, I'm just sad. Playing a victim card as if me going on a podcast, which he hasn't even heard, is a personal attack on him. As if
That's actually true, too. Now, she probably is an idiot on the podcast, but we haven't even heard the podcast yet. So it's hard to even say, well, what did she do? Like, I keep saying, like, maybe she calls him out. Maybe she probably doesn't, but maybe she does. We have to wait.
me, Trisha Paytas, who's been around since 2006 on YouTube, going on podcast after podcast. This is what I do. This is how I've always expanded what I do.
Well, yes,
I do it for the drama. I do it for the discussion. I do.
That's kind of the problem. You do it for the drama, the discussion, to discuss these. You know what I'm saying? You don't do it for a discussion. You do it for clout. But yeah.
For the me and Keemstar, we had our own issue. I'm the one who made the initial video. I'm the one that gave criticisms from my own trauma about his relationship. Ethan inserted himself by putting me in the thumbnail and title. If he wants this to be done, then leave me out of it too. But
Wait, that's actually, wow, this is horrible. I'm agreeing with Trisha. She's not wrong. That was her speaking from her own, like, well, traumatic experience. It's hard to validate everything Trisha says and does because Trisha's a fucking nightmare. She's nightmare fuel. But, like, I will say, and I said this in another video, her video was genuine, I think, in the sense that I think that she was really expressing, like, her feelings on it, even though she was wrong about it. Like, and she's very disconnected. I think she was being genuine. Ethan, however, I think was just dogpiling, to be honest with you. But genuine is a kind of a hard word to use with Trisha Paytas. But yeah, like again, like stay out of it, Ethan. Like get over, like stay out of it. Honestly, or at the very least, don't personalize it.
Inserting himself in the Keemstar drama, that video gets taken down. I'm freaking out. I'm
That's
like, what if Keemstar strikes my video? So he's like, hey, Trish, he did a Twitter video to me. Hey, not coming at you with fire. Like, let's just talk things out. Okay, cool. Like, I'm going to. And it's not just Keemstar's podcast. It's also Face Bing's podcast, who I misspoke on. I did. I didn't know the full story, and I misspoke on him. And I wanted to take that time to apologize. Just like I went on Gabby Hanna's podcast to try and make amends. Like, I was never going to be her friend.
Okay.
She told my ex-boyfriend had herpes. Like, I had no interest in that. I wanted to see where she's coming from. I asked her. She cut it out. I asked her, do you regret it? Do you regret it? She sent me a voice note the next day being like, well, because at the time she's like, she didn't. She would do it again. And I was like, okay, this girl learned nothing. But
no, I don't think Trisha ever apologizes genuinely. But if this is true and she's trying to hash it out and she's conceding to some points, then like we have to see it to see if that's true. But this just really validates her perspective. This is terrible that
even
we're
yesterday, no one's even heard this podcast, which is so crazy. Even yesterday, I was able to have debates and talking points, and then they're like, oh, I didn't think of that way. Even Keemstar himself, who I am not defending, I went on there. The first thing I said is, I am not pro Keem. I am more Team Ethan, which is why we're the frenemies thing. I have my own criticism of Ethan. Yes, I do, just like he does of me. And it's valid criticism. It's not lies. Like the video he made about me 48 hours later. We were besties. He cared so much about me. But as soon as frenemies ended, 48 hours later, he went not only on a tirade of things that I did in my past, which I think is so low because his past is ugly as.
Oh, this is so bad. We're gonna have to slow it down, but this is so bad because now what she's doing is she's criticizing Ethan, a valid criticism. She's validly criticizing Ethan for the way that he engaged in the Keemstar thing, but she's wrapping the frenemies drama into it, and now she's reframing the story once again. This is why Ethan needed to stay away from Trisha, because now what did we keep saying? Trisha's going to constantly rewrite history. Every single time she talks about frenemies, it's a new story. Ethan was in the right with the frenemies situation. That's a fact. But now Trisha gets another opportunity to turn this into a fuck Ethan situation. She is trying to ruin his life even now. As like stupid and like pathetic as it was for Ethan to be like, oh, I'm sad. This is horrible. She's rewriting history again. She's such a bad person. This is what I'm talking about. This is why you need to stop engaging with Trisha Paytas, Ethan.
Sin too. I could have just like done the same thing, but also lied. And in that final episode of Frenemies, and this is my resentment for him that I'm going to hang on forever until like he can acknowledge that he misspoke, and he did it on the Frenemies, but he never, and we talked about this yesterday on the podcast too, because he misspoke, basically like just didn't get the right facts about FaZe, but can never, if he says something wrong, he won't apologize for it wrong. He misspoke on me. I have gotten so much hate from that day still.
Well, yeah, you deserve it. He didn't misspeak on you, honestly. Like, I mean, he didn't. You're just like, bro, and it's incredible. Wait, she went on a fucking, so now it sounds like she went on this podcast to talk shit about Ethan too. Oh, Ethan, you stupid motherfucker. Stop associating with Trisha Paytas. Other than family parties, you can give a hi and talk a little bit. That's it. Stop talking about her. Like, oh my God. Like, he's almost doing it to himself now. She's slandering you constantly, and you're upset that she went to the other side. Stop talking about Trisha Paytas. That's how you should be doing this.
Being like, you ended frenemies, the whole crew fired, the 5%, just bullshit. That was not true. That he admitted.
See, look. She apologized for that, and now all of a sudden she's not apologizing at all. Oh my God.
Sitting there going through text. We recorded the entire thing. He stopped trying to look through text and show me where I said that. Show me where. And then he admits in that same podcast that he screenshotted my text that night and sent it to the crew before anything went down. He's hypocritical as sin. His followers are. The fact that he's even tweeting about this, being like, I'm sad. Really, a week later, you and your mom did a podcast, Trisha Paytas for Gabby Hanna, where you said that, or your mom said that I was like Gabby Hanna, and you're just sitting there agreeing, laughing.
It's true. You are like Gabby Hanna. You're kind of a scumbag. So is Gabby. I think it's hard to say which one's worse. Vote in the comments, guys. You don't have to do that. That's just a bullshit engagement plug that people do.
Your dad making jokes about my weight and shit like that. It's like, that triggered me.
Did he really? I didn't see that.
Triggered me. But I'm not a little baby about it. And for all those people being like, well, Rylan had Jeffrey, you were mad about Jeffrey. I was mad about it. Did I say anything? No, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not in a cult. I don't own a person. I was pissed. It hurt that they were friends with Jeffrey. It hurt that they would give him a platform. But that's not why things ended, and that's why things went south. Things ended and things went south when Shane said he thought I was a liar, that he didn't believe me what I said.
Bro, I don't know what the fuck's
happening. That's when things go south. Things go south when Rylan starts lying about it, being like, we didn't know she had an issue with Jeffrey. Then things go south. we're having workers. Sorry, I don't blame. You be friends with whoever you like. Tana's friends with David Dobrik. No one says shit. Oh, that makes me a hypocrite.
Yeah, we should be.
I will go on anyone's podcast. I met Ethan. People are forgetting I met Ethan, but going on his podcast because he did a vile video about criticizing girls' looks, saying that they look like whales, Twinkies, that I look like a corpse.
Actually, my understanding was she was making fun of people who put their bodies out there in a dishonest way on social media, right? So he was making fun of like people who would like, oh, this is what they're saying that they look like with all the Photoshop, but this is what they actually look like. And the undertone there is that like we have a lot of toxicity on Instagram, on social media, where people will present themselves in a disingenuous way that sets unrealistic standards for people watching them, especially like young women looking at other women. Or young women, young girls looking at like women who Photoshop and like they're like, oh, that body's perfect. I don't look like that. There's a fundamental issue with the way that people present themselves on social media. They show the best of themselves, and they take out the worst, and it makes it look like their life's perfect, which actually depresses like our youth into thinking that like their life is worse than it is because they're struggling in some capacity, because they don't think that it's normal to have issues anymore, right? And like, yeah, it was a little rude for sure, but Ethan even apologized for that genuinely. But here we go. Everything that Trisha apologized for was completely disingenuous because she's walking it back now. She's such a shitty person.
I look like a WWE wrestler, showing before and afters that I posted myself, trying to be like, wow, they're really fooling you. Just vile shit.
All right.
And I still went on his podcast because I'm like, let me have a discussion. Let me see where this goes. Sometimes it ends great. We had a whole freaking podcast together, me and Ethan, and it was great. Sometimes.
Well, you ruined it though 3 times. You walked away 3 times.
It ends off like the Gab and Hannah thing. They didn't even want. They're so scared. Ethan is so scared to have a discussion with anybody. They didn't even want Jeff Whitcomb. I was like, we should have Jeff Whitcomb. He's like, no, we're not going to have Jeff Whitcomb. Why? If we're criticizing him, if we have something to say, if we have debates, let's have him on here. We have to say. And guess what? He kind of changed his tune. He deleted that video about the reporter. He did change his tune. You can get through to people by having discussions, but so scared of it, as we saw, is evident by the Steven Crowder one. So scared. He's like, yeah, let's debate. Let's do this. You're going back and forth. But then the minute someone comes on, you do a bait and switch.
Okay, so now she's jumping on the Steven Crowder thing. Now I guess I kind of agree with her in that sense that like he should be a man, honestly, being like an adult. Probably better. I know you guys don't. Should be an adult and have the conversation himself if he's going to invite somebody on. But I don't think she genuinely feels that way. I think that this is just another thing. Like she says, oh, people look at this in a bad light. Let me jump on top of it now that I feel like dumping information, because she feels like it's the ideal time to strike. Ethan can't post for a few more days. Let's go after Ethan. I don't think that she's genuine about this. I think that she's just doing whatever she can to like deplatform Ethan, and it's happening again. And it's kind of Ethan's fault for constantly involving himself in Trisha's business because she's a fucking monster.
Just so scared to have any sort of discussion, so scared to admit something that maybe you're in the wrong sometimes.
And like this whole thing, bro, like you can't take her seriously on this take. If someone else had this take perfectly valid, she still hasn't given a valid or like a meaningful apology to Ethan about how she walked away from frenemies and like tried to ruin his life. This video says I am not apologetic at all for the things that I did back then. So like she can't be the one to play moral high ground and like, oh, you can't take responsibility for yourself. Yeah, you don't. Fundamentally, I think that Ethan is just kind of a bit of a conceited ass that like thinks that his shit doesn't smell. But he doesn't seem like a bad person fundamentally. He just seems like a bit of an entitled person, probably because of his like history and his growth on YouTube, and probably part of it is like a pride thing, like, oh, look at me, I got like popular, I'm the greatest, whatever. But like it doesn't come from a place that I think is necessarily bad. Trisha 100% comes from like a place that's bad. Like she is fucking gaslighting us so hard.
And for anyone who's like, Trisha, you're never in the wrong. I've apologized so many times. I've been in the wrong so many times. I say what.
But you see that she apologized, but this whole video she just reversed her apologies.
I'm in the wrong. When have you ever heard that from Ethan's? That's my problem. But not just other creators who can't admit or can't say or can't speak that they had a mess up. And then I'll let it go. I've had issues with people, and hey, like me and Nikocado squashed it. Me and Jeffrey squashed it. Me and Joey Graceffa squashed it. When you have conversations with people, me and Ethan, obviously, when I went on the HU podcast. And let me tell you, and I'm not defending Keem anyway, I did stick up for him and be like, why would you attack people's lips? Why do you do that? That's gross. It's base too. Face like Keem, you're toxic AF. And Keem will admit it. But no one's even heard that. That's what's so annoying, because there was like a point in the time when Keem's like, I've had some bad takes on mental health and I am trying to like learn from it. That is progress. What are we just supposed to hold people, whatever?
But like he never has said that, right? So Keem starts saying like a lot of terrible things, and so like we don't even know what he says, but it's like, why now? Why wouldn't he say that in the past? Why is it that if you have terrible takes, then why is he not saying them? Like if he had like for instance the rape apologist shit, he's like, yeah, I had bad takes. He didn't express those bad takes. Well, why not? This is
Ethan's past is just as dirty and murky as anyone else's, saying the most vile shit, saying that women were here to be conquered by men. I do believe Ethan's changed, and you know what? Maybe that's partly because of me.
He did say that. I don't know the context that he said that. We just see the meme, and I just go, oof, that's not good. You know what I mean?
Or frenemies, whatever. Because I went on that podcast being like, why would you say that about these girls? And he was so hard-nosed. Keemstar was so much nicer to me as a host that day, more respectful of me as a guest than Ethan was. It was the first time I met him. He's like, show me how much you make. I'm like, I'm not comfortable. No, show me right now. Bring it up. Put up the thing. Like, when I said I wasn't comfortable with it, I had said I was Team Ethan on that podcast. At the end of it, I was Team Ethan. I said Keem even agreed. Ethan's really nice. He's the nicest guy. He told me how their beef started, which was Keem going on the H3 podcast, and he's like, they were lovely. It was great. Then they got backlash from their fans, and they like, yeah, we hate Keemstar too. And then that's when the beef started. No one's disagreeing.
Didn't Keemstar call like Hila a horse a bunch of times? Which it just doesn't surprise me because I remember Trisha called Ethan's wife a bitch and a cunt and a bad mother.
Ethan is nice. He's funny. He's super intelligent. He's super successful. But the hypocrisy of this.
Super intelligent? What? Okay, now I know. You guys must be fucking idiots if you think that H3 is super intelligent. No offense.
Just like, and I bit my tongue so long, but it's like his family can go and spew just nasty, vile shit. Not only publicly, but inner circle too. Just the nastiest things written down that I would never even speak right now because the manifestation is so ugly and so dark from what was even written there. It makes me sick to my very stomach.
Bro, like, what are we supposed to do with that? Oh, Ethan's family or whatever, they're mean. Oh. Can you give us an insight? No, they're just really bad. She's too dumb to give us, like, we can't trust her word, so she needs to like prove these things to us. At this point now, she's just slandering the fuck out of Ethan, probably because, or Ethan's family, probably because she didn't like that the mom said that she was like Gabby Hanna.
That's completely fine. They went on Twitter, they bashed me there, bashed me on families. He allows it. There's no editing, there's no takeout. But my sister, who posted a TikTok that was up for exactly 1 hour. 1 hour, and it was deleted for 4 days, but they decided to do a whole podcast on that and also made a highlight saying Trisha Paytas' sister, just sending so much hate to my sister for this.
Bro, I forgot exactly what happened. I remember that her sister's a dumb bitch, though. I think that she said something along the lines of, like, doubling down on, like, this whole thing where, like, Ethan, like, joked about, like, the candle thing. I think Ethan asked the mom about, like, the candle thing or the family about the candle thing when they're on the vacation. Like, the candle, we'll say trauma from Trisha. And it was, and he admitted very quickly, he's like, I fucked up. I didn't mean it in like a joking way and it came off wrong and like that was my bad. Like he owned it. And it's so ironic that he owns it when he fucks up. Like when he does feel he fucks up, he owns it like on that scenario. But then like 2 minutes before she was like, he never owns any responsibility. Well, he does, but you guys knew that you were like being dishonest about it. And then you promoted this whole idea that like he tried to like steal a Disney trip from you and everything. This whole fucking video is ridiculous. But again, rewriting history. This woman is pathetic. She's such a loser.
TikTok that she deleted about an experience she had. Deleted the TikTok.
What's the lie that she was doubling down on your lie? It's not an experience she had. The only experience she must have had is like some kind of like a brain fucking trauma for even thinking that what she said was intelligent or valid.
Knowledge that she deleted the TikTok, but now it's forever lived on the internet for her to get harassed and hated on by the most toxic fan base on the internet, which is the H3 fan base. It is disgusting. And
I don't think that the H3 fan base is the most toxic. Probably like the Gypsy Crusader fan base is the most toxic. If we're being honest here, I don't know, man.
For all those like Ethan was so he was so loyal. He could exploit all my mental illness, which I was also a willing participant, and I was a part of that.
Trisha, you exploit other people's mental illnesses. What you do is you assign a mental illness that you don't have to yourself, or you'll assign like a trauma or a mental illness that you don't actually have to yourself, because it's what is popular, right? Like being trans, for example, because I don't believe that you are, and then. Yeah, like you said that you had dissociative identity disorder and you got fucking destroyed for that. Then you said you were trans, you got destroyed for that. Then you educated yourself on like being trans, so then you did it again. But like we already know you're full of shit and you're just doing it because you're educated on what it is and you know what to say. Like this is what I'm talking about. Like how are you going to talk about how he weaponized your mental health? That's bullshit. This is just so stupid.
Every single
I'm a fucking
psychotic breakdown I had, but then the last episode where we come to terms and we're like, we both kind of messed up. This sucks that it ended this way. I cried.
That's not true.
I was really emotional about it.
Bro, like again, like his fuck up was like almost non-existent comparatively to what she did. She was being horrible, a horrible dog shit person, and now she's trying to make it seem like, oh, we both had our faults. Like his fault was something like really dumb that he admitted almost immediately. Like we were talking about before, where he like overstepped and like talked to her family about like her trauma of like the candle thing, because it was on the podcast that they did, and then it was like a misfire. They didn't find it funny and they got uncomfortable, and he's like, I'm really sorry I fucked up. That was like his fuck up. She was being a fucking rampant bitch. Go rewatch the old stuff. Like, she's just trying to rewrite history, so you guys will agree with that.
I was like, wow, now I'm team Ethan forever, because like, wow, he can admit that and he can alleviate some of the hate that I'm getting. Like, that's cool. But then the next day I can't air that, and he blames everyone else. Oh, the hate that the crew's gonna get, and this is gonna stress this person out.
It wasn't even a formal podcast, to my understanding. Like, she just showed up and he was like, we're not doing it today, and they sat down and talked, and she decided it was a podcast. I wouldn't doubt if he went through the performance of like recording it, but he probably never wanted to do it in the first place. She didn't even the whole point of the last Frenemies podcast was to promote the merch, and they didn't even have the merch for her to promote. So it doesn't make sense that they would invite her over. If the point of the last episode of Frenemies was to promote the Frenemies merch, why did she have knockoff Frenemies merch instead of an actual shirt, the actual stuff? It's because it was never planned. It doesn't make any logical sense. She's full of shit. This wasn't a valid podcast. I guarantee you that it wasn't a valid podcast. It was just something that existed. That's it. Like, it was just something that she decided existed and then came over, and he even said like, yeah, this isn't a thing. And they did like probably a mock fucking episode, and he just decided not to air it.
Just everyone else, he cannot just admit that he is coward to ever admit wrong. And for all the people saying like, yeah, he did admit he was wrong. What? He admitted that I mixed up Sam's thing. But that's not what it was. He lied about so many things, or misunderstood, as he said in the final episode. So like, lie, misunderstanding, whatever. Just put it out as a misunderstanding, so that way I'm still not getting barraged with hate, and I still am, because he's like, wow, I'm really sad about this.
Good.
He's said on his own podcast that I was like, would you have James Charles on? Yes, I would have him on, because that's discussion. If he had David, if he had Jason, have them on, have the discussion. I went on Gabby's podcast to have a discussion. I would go on Jeff Whitting. I would go on any person's podcast to have discussions with people. That is growth. Sometimes it's growth, sometimes it's a disaster, but you don't know until you find out. I am my own person. It's like I'm my own person with my own life. And it's insane, the hate train that he has to post on Twitter and TikTok. He's not losing in this. Everyone is building him up. I am getting hate.
Like, I will say, like, yeah, he's like, bro, I said before, he's pathetic for like that fucking shit, because he's not pathetic because he's doing it to manipulate her. He's pathetic because he actually is upset that she went on Keemstar's thing. That's the thing about Ethan. He's a bleeding heart, fucking, like, he's like a beta male, like, honestly. But he's not doing it to give Trisha hate. He's doing it because he actually is upset. That's why it's so pathetic. That's really what the problem is. But he's a genuine person, I believe. But this is not a genuine person. Look, like, what?
He sees it. I've seen it on his Reddit. He knows it. So you're just piling on more hate. Why? Because I'm in a picture. I'm on someone's podcast. When Jeffrey was on Ryan's podcast, yeah. Was I her? Yeah. Was it?
But it's also funny because she talks about how she basically slandered Ethan on that podcast. So we didn't know that until she admitted it. But she admitted that.
No, I don't own Ryan. I don't own Shane. That's a business move. That's, I've been on a lot of people's podcasts. I'm going to continue to be on people's podcasts. I'm on Dr. Drew this week. I'm going to go and people on people. That's what I did before. That's what I'm doing now.
Yeah, you do that because you're just desperate for attention. It's not because you're trying to have a conversation. I hate this framing of it. It's like you've self-admitted that you're just desperate for attention.
I love podcasting. I'm really freaking good at it. I'm good at being a guest. I'm good at being a host. I'm gonna do it.
You're not good at being a guest or a host. I watched like 5 seconds of your podcast. You had legitimate like hundreds of dollars microphones that were like very expensive, and you didn't even plug them in. You had your computer audio running. So you're not a good host and you're not a good guest. What you're good at is being somebody that we could point to and go, that's terrible. That is the bottom of the barrel. You're a joke to people. This idea that you're like a good guest is fucking insane. You're fun to laugh at and to mock. You're sad, and you make us feel better about our sad lives because you're just like a fucking train wreck. That's why people watch you. You're a mess. You're an absolute mess. It's the truth.
And maybe they can run my sister off and other people off. The amount of hate that Moses has gotten is insane. And they're like, oh, you did that to yourself. No.
I kind of feel like Moses doesn't get that much hate. I feel like Moses gets a lot of sympathy. Everybody's like, wow, Moses, what are you doing, man? Like, why are you doing this to yourself? Why are you dating this woman? Or them, whatever the fuck she wants to be called now. I think she is one of her pronouns. I don't think he gets any hate. I feel like that's a lie.
Go back, there's a whole timeline of like Trisha and Moses' love story, Water and Fire. When we first started dating in quarantine, doing absolutely nothing, no videos together, the hate they sent saying Moses was a liar and he's doing this to like hurt them, like it's insane. And we didn't see anything about it. And the fact that it's still going on, they're saying, Trisha can't stop talking about me. Well, then stop putting me in your thumbnail and title and using me for clickbait. If we're supposed to be family and stuff like that, you don't do that to my sister. They met my sister. They went to Disney with my sister. Her and my mom welcomed them with open arms at a party. We were like so excited. Like, you don't do that.
Bro, you were literally saying that like Ethan bummed the ride off of Disney and never offered to pay even though it was your birthday. So how are you talking about how you were so nice to them on? I just don't understand. It doesn't make any sense.
Even the most nastiest, vile shit that Ethan's mom said to Moses about me and like putting this awful, evil energy out to the universe and also onto me and a burden that it makes me sick to my stomach. Like I still like, you know what? Mouth shut. They're doing families. They're talking shit about me. Gabby, Hannah. Okay, they know how to trigger me. Mouth shut. Okay. The hypocrisy of it all. It just kills me. It kills me. Admit it. I admit I'm a hypocrite. I admit that I can be contradictive. Like I'm a mess. I admit it. But there's nothing he did wrong in this scenario. I will continuously get hate because everything I did is wrong.
No, the problem is that like he admitted what he did wrong, so nobody's still like emotionally upset about it. But you didn't. This is another like walk back on your apology, so people are still mad at you, and you were still like 95% in the wrong. So.
And then for his mom, can't wait to go to the wedding. Not, it's like they loom that over our head. Like your family, like he can call and text me anytime. Like if there is an issue, call or text me. And then you make the argument.
It's ironic that like she didn't do that for him.
Scared it's gonna be out there. Okay, fine. Then don't say anything that's nasty. Just
remember that she just decided to leave the show and like just get off the air. Like she didn't like call or text him because she was upset. She was like, I'm leaving. I'm getting out of here. I'm gonna ruin the show because I want to ruin Ethan's life.
A human conversation with me like the last time we talked. Like there's really an issue, but honestly, it's not. Even when I was on the Keemstar thing, I was like, maybe you guys can talk. And Keemstar was like, I'm willing to talk to Ethan, but Ethan's really not willing to talk to him and like squash this beef because a lot of things, and they don't even like the person. I'm not friends with Keemstar. I'm not Keemstar. Everyone's like, oh, he had.
But why would Ethan want to squash the beef with Keemstar? Like honestly, Keemstar really is a terrible person. Like we really downplay like the rape apologist bullshit, the Etika thing. You guys keep saying. It's going to be in this comment of these videos too. Papa got. He didn't have anything to do with Etika taking his life. I watched the clip of the two of them talking where Keemstar was getting progressively more upset and frustrated with Etika because Etika was like saying things that were like disparaging of Keemstar. Like he controls the world or something. It was weird shit. And Keemstar got upset and had a fucking meltdown. And he was like, well, if nothing matters, then why don't you go jump off a bridge? And then what happened? You have a level of responsibility as an adult. You should understand and be able to identify when somebody is like fucking mentally incapable in some capacity. So yes, he has a level of responsibility for that. Not legal, but social. He did the whole rape apologist situation. He was like, well, just let it if girls get raped in the mouth, why don't they just move the penis out? It's like, you're an idiot. Like this guy's a moron. This canceled Carson at 19 for fucking talking to a 17-year-old. Like Keemstar is a bad person. So I can understand why Ethan doesn't want to try to rekindle a relationship. But Ethan really just needs to make sure that he understands that Trisha is equally as bad as Keemstar and like needs to not have a relationship with her as well.
Gabby on after you got played. I knew they were friends. Gabby's always oh he's my, and then even when I was on the podcast he's a friend. I'm not whatever. Be friends with her. Have her on. Have her go. I don't care. I don't care. When we were doing frenemies, I didn't want to have her on. I didn't want to get tricked. I was seriously triggered. I'm at a place now where I can step back and. Gabby still scares the shit out of me.
Did she just say that she didn't want to have Keemstar on back then because she was triggered? So I don't understand. But now you changed your ways because you need attention.
But I talk about it because she scares the shit out of me. You know what I mean? I don't care. Like I repute that just the way I refuse that negative energy from Ethan's mom. Like I'm just so sick of hypocrisy, and I can't even look at. I turned my phone off last night, and I just go on today and I see some of the Instagram comments, and there's all snakes, clowns. I'm like, really, I'm my own person. And as far as I'm concerned. Even if I went on there just to bash Ethan, which I didn't, because the podcast isn't out yet. Like, there's no loyalty.
You did. You totally already admitted that you went on there to basically reframe like the whole situation with frenemies. Like, you totally went on there to bash Ethan. Actually, I wouldn't doubt it if Keemstar made announced his girlfriend. Trisha reacted to it. Ethan reacted to that because he's a weirdo and wanted to like support Trisha because he can't get it over himself or something. And needs to like move on. So Trisha was probably like, "Oh, you think we're still friends? I'm gonna go talk to Keemstar and I'm gonna trash you." I would not doubt that was what the progress is.
He bashed my sister, harassed her off the internet.
He didn't do that.
Moses, it took him a whole 48 hours to make a video, a hit piece on me, lying, saying I wanted this whole crew fired about the money.
Well, you kind of did say that. He didn't. That was still true.
He moved the downtown LA studio was for friend. Like just so many lies in that one, and or misunderstandings or mistruths, as he said. Like he could not find one single text. Like. It took him 48 hours and then to throw everything about me.
Shut up. You're not right. You're so full of shit. Like, all those things were valid. He said one thing where he's like, she didn't explicitly say she wanted the crew fired, but he was like, I know her, and like, I know what she was trying to say. And honestly, I believe him. So, yeah.
That's ever been bad in the past year that I've apologized for. If Ethan does something wrong, he apologized. He addressed that. It's fine. It's okay. But if I apologize continuously, which I do, up until definitely posted a video a couple weeks
Bro,
ago.
you're lying. You even on this episode said you like basically retracted your apology. Like she's such a fucking loser.
Been liking TikToks about me and Moses' altercation. Like he's still doing that. He's still liking shit about it. There's no, as far as I'm concerned, there's no loyalty. There's not. But
yeah,
I'm not
from
going
you.
out just bashing him.
You are.
Just like people think I'm obsessed with David and Jason still, like I will talk about it because if there's no, if I don't think someone, like just have a just talk, just admit that you did something wrong. And with David and Jason, there's some things, serious things I haven't even talked about on camera. I was like, you can just talk to me instead of calling me crazy, instead of going to your lawyer and saying, oh, she's going to a mental hospital, she can't be held accountable, just like talking up to that. I'm sorry, I will die on the cross that I'm this crazy person. I don't care because I will not hold it in. I'm not staying silent on this situation. I'm not going to sit next to Ethan while he berates women, like in the past of him calling Lana Rhodes being loose and all stuff like that. You know?
I mean, Lana Rose is a porn star, so she probably is loose. Like, what are we doing here? What's happening? I don't understand.
I do think he's grown. But the guilty part is also sitting.
That's so funny that she's like, I'm growing up, and you guys should respect that. And then she brings up something from like 5 years ago about Ethan. Like, it's fun. It's ironic. That's hypocritical.
Allowing it to happen. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's like when I was there with Ethan or Keemstar, I did call him out on stuff. Like, I had to discuss, and he's a lot more stubborn than FaZe. But FaZe, I had my own things I needed to talk about with him. Like, I didn't know him prior to really frenemies. I did a really nasty episode. In my opinion, the way I did it on frenemies, I think I was nasty. I don't even think Ethan was that horrid on that one. I think I was horrid. I think I was pretty ruthless, pretty talking out of my head, basically, of something I don't know, which really sucks because I do take pride in talking about things that I know as facts. If I was there, this happened. I've always been that way.
No, you haven't.
So when I kind of went off on
that,
you
have a warped perception of reality. And like nothing that you think about a situation is true because you don't have like the capacity to see things as a normal person.
Mike's looks and because I was triggered by FaZe making a joke, and we know what we hashed it out. But the thing is no one's even seen this podcast. Everyone gets so upset and to send this hate towards me. It's insane. Like it's really again kicking someone that's down. You know what I mean? Like you're the one winning, and people are pissed about this or whatever, and you're just throwing it on more. This makes me really sad. Being this victim has nothing.
This did not need to be.
It has nothing to do with you. I had my own YouTube career way before this. I'm going to have my YouTube career after this. Like,
hope not.
I've gone through bigger groups of cults, really. We had the Shane Dawson era, the David Dobrik era, and now it's the H3 crew era where it's like, you don't talk to anyone, we don't. Like, that's what makes the world go round. I don't like Jeff Wittick. He's best friends with David, but we had him on. Honestly, I was so fascinated. I no matter how that ended, I respected Jeff so much for coming on. I mean, now we have our own thing or whatever like that. But I respect someone who can have a conversation. Now he just sends me threats. But if you want to have a conversation with someone, and you think you're so right or I'm so right, like, let's do it. And sometimes I'm so wrong, and I'm like, oh, yeah, like that. And
like 99% of the time, 99.99%, 9% of the time, you're wrong. But you don't admit it. You just say that you're right. You're doing it right now.
And I admit, with the FaZe situation, like, I wasn't fully understanding a situation that I read about that I was trying to use as attack, and that's when I just was like, you know what, this is wrong, I need to stop. It felt icky. I made an enemies, or a podcast about Keemstar, in a podcast he did about his 20-year-old girlfriend. It became this huge thing. Ethan titled Trisha Paytas versus Keemstar. It's not versus. He said in the video that I trashed Keemstar. I wasn't trashing Keemstar. I was giving comment.
Well, you were trashing Keemstar. Your commentary was wrong.
Commentary on something that really affected and traumatized me, my sister, a lot of other people I've talked to in interview court, and started other people who have dated older guys and how it really emotionally affected them. And it doesn't.
Well, no, that's not true though, right? You projected your experience of dating older men when you were a minor to two consenting adults dating, and we can understand that like it probably will be weird for her to date that person, but like there's no predatorization, which she said that there was. So there's a difference between having a traumatic relationship as a minor with a full-grown like 40 or 50-year-old adult, which is what Trisha claimed to have happened to her, versus a 20 and a 39-year-old like adults consenting to a relationship. So, like, she's not really talking about her trauma so much as she's projecting her trauma onto the situation.
It happened to everybody. I'm not saying it, and I wasn't making it directly about Keem or his girlfriend.
Yes, you were.
Who I met yesterday, by the way, and I was like, it's not anything personal. It's like how it's something that it's my platform. There's something that I'm very.
But this is one of those things that she does: is she goes off the rails, and she has a really bad take, and like she tries to deplatform somebody, and then when like she meets them, she's like, "Oh no, I only said that because of my trauma." But it's like if you use any level of like critical thought onto the situation, you would realize that like it's not your 20 and 39-year-old isn't a traumatic situation. So you're projecting, and like you're able to use your mental health as a shield from criticism because you get to say, well, my trauma. But like realistically speaking, you're just unintelligent and like you're just saying ignorant stuff. And then you try to get away with it by saying, but I have mental health problems. And that's why you're such a terrible fucking person.
I went on and talked about an essay that happened to me or R word really, that happened to me on FaZe and Keemstar. Like, that's my story that I'm trying to share with these people. Like, I'll speak on Keemstar, who's not believed, who's made light of that kind of stuff, to share my own story, to see how it hits him in person, you know, because it's like, and it's something I don't even talk about really on my channel. It's something I'm not comfortable, because it is that once it's out there, and people have judgment about me and not saying anything sooner, not speaking up about this sooner. Like, I've let this person go free for so long. Like, there's so much judgment that comes with sharing your story. And I was like,
I'm assuming she's talking about, like, when she was like 17 years old, her mom's like ex or whatever used to sit in her room naked, and she's very uncomfortable about talking about the situation.
let me share this specifically to Kim, because I just, you know, I know the bad behavior he's had, and look, I've had bad behavior. He's, you know, but we had a really big discussion too, and I won't, whatever.
It's just so weird because, like, Trisha, like, she's having a meltdown about, like, older people dating younger people. Like, oh, when I was 16, I dated like 40 or whatever. But, like, she's had sex with like 20-year-olds on her OnlyFans. And, like, her sister had sex with like an 18-year-old. And it's like, you're going to sit here and bitch and moan about a power dynamic, but then you're going to do porn with somebody that's like more than 10 years younger than you. Like, you don't even have any level of logical consistency.
Watch it. That's just the shortest podcast ever. It's like 30 minutes. You know, about people bringing stuff up from the past, like, weaponize it against you. I think it's gross, because I think at the end of the day, everyone who does it has really nasty shit in their closet too. I've done some nasty shit. Drunk induced or not, like, it's not an excuse. It's out there. I've done some nasty shit. There's nasty shit about everybody. I'm commenting on the here and now. Keemstar, there's a here and now. When people are like, you don't want to talk about it in front of me, because that was stuff that was happening years ago, and I was like, you know what? I felt uncomfortable because I have stuff in my closet, in my Twitter, that I've addressed. Up until like a year and a half ago, the Moses altercation, like, that's something that is the darkest skeleton in my, it's not even in my closet, it's out in the open. I'll address it. I talk about it even on the podcast. It's like word vomit to me. Any podcast I go on, Tana, I did the Wolf of Wall Street one yesterday. I will own up to a picture of abuse that I have to Moses. That's out there. And it sucks. Like, it's gross. But to just be like, oh, you have to be loyal to Ethan. When he's liking those posts, like, they screenshot it, he's liking those posts. That's really, and then throwing it back in my face. All the stuff that I try to work through, because last year, drug-induced, unmedicated, just a mess.
That's your fault. Right? So, like, this is one of those things. It's like, oh, like, specifically unmedicated, like, you could have been medicated, but you constantly go on and off your medication, and then you go, well, and then you fucking act like it's everyone else's fault. You get diagnosed and medicated, and then you stop taking your meds because you don't like taking your meds, and then you act like it's not your fault, that you're a fucking train wreck again, but it is. Like, you're responsible for yourself. And if you get a diagnosis and you're getting medicated and it works, and then you decide to come off the meds, then, like, okay, that behavior is your fucking fault. You don't get a pass on it.
It was awful. That is my rock bottom. 2020 was my rock bottom on so many levels, up until the December episode where I did call a co-host on that channel names, like, you know, and that was my lowest. I was like, wow, I'm so embarrassed. And yes, the fact that they gave me forgiveness, of course I appreciate it. The fact that he showed me patience and love, of course. And that's why all this hurts and stings so much, because I did appreciate it, but it took him a whole 48 hours to do a whole hit piece on me. He doesn't watch videos. He doesn't know the context of them, because those videos I made were not hit pieces on anyone. It had nothing to do, there was nothing bad I was saying about anyone. I was like, I'm sorry, I messed up. I was taking full blame until I realized, like, first of all, it didn't feel like I had the full blame, but then when he told me on that last episode of Frenemies that he screenshotted, sent the text to the set.
This is a fucking train wreck. She's just, like, basically said, I took responsibility for what I did wrong, but then also I realized it wasn't my fault. This is insane.
It's the lowest thing you can do to share screenshots. You showed screenshots of me and Moses' text. You showed screenshots of James Charles. You showed screenshots. You showed screenshots of me. Like, you showed screenshots. Like, you know, to act like you're so above here and I'm just this trasher here. It's the hypocrisy for me. It's sending all this hate and to my sister, and I'm so sick of it. And I don't care if I sound crazy. People are like, let this go. I'm not gonna let this go. He did the title and thumbnail about me. It got taken down. Which, by the way, I asked him, so I was like, oh my god, did you get that taken down? He's like, no, I didn't hit the report. Like, he did a brand video about it and stuff like that. Because to me, that's scary. That's when it's like crossing this line, right? Now you're trying to deplatform people and not give people voices. Both of which things, even things he believes in that. People should be, I don't believe in that, no matter what. The nastiest shit, like, I've had the nastiest stuff written about me and my sister last year, or talked about in video, just nasty.
Because you're a bad person. It's not nasty. It's just that's the thing, is Trisha pretends that people write nasty things about her. What actually happens is people write the truth about her, and she's just such a nasty person that she just doesn't comprehend how disgusting she is. Like, that's the problem.
Anyone deserves that level, and so that's another reason I was like, well, Keemstar made a video to me about our beef that I technically started by making a video about it,
okay,
and opposing it. But it's like, I'm down to have a conversation. You know, if Keemstar in person was nice, we had a healthy discussion. In no way did I ever feel pressured, attacked, like poking to talk about something I didn't want to talk about. Like, you know what I mean? Sure. But it did give me a chance to be able to defend things, to talk about things that were important to me. And to vent about things, you know? Like, this is my life, this is what's happening, this is what is consuming me. It has consumed me. And I've really just tried to, like, keep it moving. And the minute Like, you know, and I talk about it. It's happening to my life. I talk about it. It's something that I really hold on to. I'm so sick of seeing like Trisha went over there and forced him. No, there was a set time to do the final frenemies. I was there. He's like, I forgot. It was like 5 minutes for. I said, no worries.
I just don't believe that, because of the set time to do frenemies, there would have been merch, and I think that she even admitted that it was like it wasn't actually scheduled. She said it in like a video where she talked about the final episode of it. I remember, because I remember watching it really tired and missing something, and somebody actually was like, Papa God, you missed this. And I looked at it, and she basically admitted that like there was no set schedule and that she just showed up there, and Ethan basically was like, okay, I guess we're gonna do something. So yeah, especially again, the final episode of Frenemies was to promote the merch, but there was no merch there to promote, so it wasn't scheduled, and clearly there was no day, because that would be what it would be about. Hey, let's hash things out and promote the merch that I'm not going to be able to sell now, which he sold all of course. Who expected otherwise? But it wasn't there. So then there's no way that Ethan would have scheduled a fucking podcast for that day.
We can just go home. I have these text messages. No worries, we can just go home. He's like, no, let's come film like a half hour. Okay, fine. I'm down to do it. It was great. I did a mukbang after, and I was like, you know what? Honestly, like that was the closure needed. Do you know what I mean? There was closure. You can admit some faults to your audience. That is a huge thing. But he can handle being just a tiny bit wrong. I can have a whole psychotic breakdown where I am just manic and awful and saying the worst things and me at my worst. And I let that go up because I do think that's real. I think that's real. I think that should be shown. But why can't the same? And it's not even anyone who's manic. It was just like admission. Like when I finally said like, yeah, this wasn't. It was how the crew interpreted. It was how it insinuated. Whatever. I was like, oh, thank God, it's a relief that there's no. And I remember him scrolling through trying to find before all this, you know, before all that happened, and I was just like, I do have a lot of resentment. I have a lot of resentment that I'm hanging on to. Like I do, and you know, I go on podcasts. People want to know. People are like, we love frenemies. You know, like what the heck happened, and it's what I talk about, but that's also what he does. He talks about, he can freely talk about my sister, even though she like deleted this thing. Freely talk about it. Freely talk about whoever you want. But it's like,
I like how she was like, oh well, she deleted this message, so she shouldn't get hate. But like they're doubling down on what she was saying in the message. It's not like she deleted it because it was a lie. She deleted it for whatever reason, probably because she was being told that she's a fucking idiot for like her sister for putting out like bullshit information, and she didn't want to get the hate that she deserved for being a lying, disingenuous bitch. And excuse my language, lying, disingenuous person. And but yeah, no, it's ridiculous. But she wasn't apologizing for it. I took it down. It's like, okay, but it's still out there. It's like, Jesus Christ.
And he can't really talk about me. You know what I mean? I don't have an issue until he's like, oh, she can't stop talking about me. But you also put that in. And knowing the kind of person
you made like fucking 5 videos every one video. I think you made like 10 or 15 videos, and Ethan made like 2 videos responding to you or something. Like he was doing reasonable response, but you were just constantly clickbaiting with his name. And then he did it this one time and you had a fucking meltdown, so you decided to go on to Keemstar's podcast to slander the shit out of him.
And knowing that, you know, this is what happens. I do get triggered, but I didn't make this video last night when I was really upset. Like I waited till this morning, and then I saw all those things. And I just wanted to address, like I literally went, just all snakes. I don't even block it. I don't have the energy. I don't have the energy to block people. Just the comments are insane. On my video posted today, I was just trying to let my Burger King mukbang ride. Kim just won. Oh, Trisha, girl, if you're being honest about this, then guess we'll see you in a vid with Jeffrey, Ethan, Gabby making up with them too soon. Well, guess what? I did go on Gabby's podcast trying to make up with it. Didn't work. Okay. Ethan, we did do a final closure episode trying to make up with him. Never aired. It worked, but didn't air because he didn't want him at fault. Jeffrey and I don't speak, but I would be absolutely happy to do it publicly, privately. Absolutely.
I don't care.
You know? So what? I mean, I do that.
We all know that if it actually served to be positive for her platform, that Trisha Paytas would talk to like James Charles and forgive him socially, as long as it was palatable for the audience. That's all that matters. Trisha doesn't care about issues. She cares about what's palatable to people. That's why her stories constantly shift to like whatever is socially palatable and aware. It's like fucking ridiculous.
Wasn't Trisha?
Oh, I understand. You just didn't know their age, or you just got horny. Like, she would say those things if people would accept those. Those fucking dogs are barking. I'm gonna have to fart on them.
Super bothered that Rylan had Jeffrey on his podcast. That was a key role, and Shane just spelling out, remember correctly. Absolutely not. That wasn't a key role. Like, I was upset about it, and I told him about it. I was like, you know, when the fight started happening about me, Jeffrey, and the hair by Jay thing, and he was taking their side, and then he's like, well, I didn't believe you. I just didn't believe you when you told me that. And then that's when I was like, okay, we've been best friends for 10 years. And then now you're just admitted that you just didn't believe anything I said for the past year about it. Okay, then that's when we can't be friends. I never said anything. Be friends with Jeffrey. I knew they were. Did the podcast. I understand. It can hurt, but I don't own him. If he wants to be friends with someone, be friends with someone. My hairstylist does people's hairs that I definitely don't like and don't mess with. You know what I mean? I don't own anybody. I don't control.
What did she talk about her that her hairstylist does the hair for other people she doesn't like? What the fuck? That's not even like a reasonable thing. Like it is somewhat reasonable to be like, hey, I don't want one of my friends associating with another person I don't like. I get that. That makes sense. But now she's trying to equate that to her hiring a hairstylist that also does like the hair of like fucking Lenny Kravitz or something someone she doesn't like. It's not the same thing. Those are wildly different things. Like, what is she talking about?
Oh, even people I pay, I don't control them. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like my sister, my family, I don't control what they do. They can talk to people. My sister got her hair and makeup done a few months, like maybe 6 months ago, by a hair and makeup guy that I don't use anymore. I was fine, do it, like, you know.
That's not even comparable. My sister got her hair done by a makeup and a hairstylist that I don't use anymore. That has nothing to do with your friends being friends with people you don't like. The fact that she thinks that this is an intelligent comparison just speaks volumes about her.
Do it, like, you know, you want good makeup, good whatever, just do it. Like, I don't own people.
Oh, God.
You know, it was my issue when he didn't believe me. It was my issue when Brian lied about saying Trisha never told us this. Okay, now you're lying about me. Jeffrey is like the side chick in this situation, right? Like, it has nothing to even do with it, really. Trisha doesn't burn bridges. She takes the entire kingdom. Totally grossing me out right now. Even if the Keem thing was for ratings, I think she would have passed on the idea. It's entertaining. The Keem thing is entertaining. It's petty. Again, no one's heard any of this. I made a video about Keemstar. I made a video about my issue with Keemstar. I started this. It's spiraled and snowballed into the thing. I can go talk about it and say where I'm coming from on that situation, especially with the young girl right there. This is a time that I should be able to discuss, and then that's when I bring up my R word, something that I've never talked about before, and how I thought it was fine. Like, trying to get people that, like, mindsets are at any age are not fully developed. Mindsets are at any age are not, like, mindsets are at any age are trying to get people that, like, mindsets are at any age are not fully developed. Everyone's saying I can predict the future, that she's just trolling. I'm not trolling. I can have a discussion. Me and Keemstar, again, we're in this.
Sorry, I couldn't understand. I didn't realize I was muted. I didn't understand what the fuck she was saying. Like, she's saying something at any age or not. I just don't know what she was saying.
Battle. It wasn't a battle. It wasn't a versus. I wasn't trashing. I had commentary on something that really triggers me. This whole, and people talking about Moses, it's like, oh, just stop. I didn't, and again, people are just, this is just.
Yeah, I didn't know what she was saying before.
The whole angle that you were only taken seriously in a practice because you were sitting next to a man.
Mindset. She's saying mindsets. What was the full thing she was saying? Because I'm not understanding. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I don't even know what the point.
Ethan, doesn't it apply if it's Keemstar? I was referring to him as Keem, and it's all good. Well, I just know him as Keem. I want to call him Keemstar. I don't know. Like, but that is true. Can I tell you? What do people care about? I was sitting next to Tana. I said the same things. She's friends with David. There's other things that we didn't.
Now
whatever.
She's just reading comments. This is
no one said a damn thing.
Bro, the worst part.
I'm next to Keemstar and Faze, two men in this world, very opposite, very polarizing.
The worst.
All hell breaks loose. I'm a hypocrite.
But like the worst thing ever is having to do commentary on fucking Trisha when she makes 40-minute videos, because there's about 6 minutes worth of like actual content, and I have to watch a 40-minute fucking video.
I'm that. Oh, like, how dare you be friends? It's like, I despise David. Tana's living in David's house. Like, it has nothing to do with Tana. It has nothing. I would freaking go talk to David Dobrik. Yeah, we talked about him on the podcast a little too, and Keems like, he called everybody, all these people, and I would gladly have that conversation with him.
Okay.
Then call me to
do it. Just go do it. Just go do it yourself. You're an adult. Just go have fucking conversations with people you want to talk to. Like, I don't understand. Just go do it. Like, shut up. Stop fucking complaining about it.
And then again, people just, I kind of went over all this stuff, but even definitely knows this. I don't care who's disgusted with me. I'm my own person. I can do my own thing. I owe zero loyalty, specifically to Ethan.
I think everybody's disgusted with you.
Me too. But the thing is, I'm not trashing him. I'm not going to like he did this. I'm not trying to bring up all this shit. It's just I'm so.
You are. You do that all the time.
All this stuff like that. I go on podcasts. I've gone on podcasts. I've talked about Ethan and all these other podcasts.
She did like the whole thing. She was on some dumb bullshit podcast with like a bunch of women, all girls podcast. And like it was literally, she just used it as a way to talk shit about Ethan. Like she was just lied about the whole situation and made it seem like Ethan was a fucking manipulative fuck. She's never apologizes. She only goes on these things to talk shit. Her crowning life achievement is that she was on Frenemies, and she talks about it exclusively and obsessively on anyone who will listen, and she'll gaslight the fuck out of everybody who will listen. And it's mostly people who don't sit down and like look into the depths of the drama. They just take her on face value because they're like ignorant to how absolutely worthless and terrible of a person she is.
Podcast, but it's like, it's Keemstar. You put me in the same title as Gabby Hanna, say we're the same person. A week after all, this is all fresh. This is all.
Well, yeah, because it was a clip about you and Gabby Hanna. It's incredible how she'll go on every podcast that'll listen and she'll slander Ethan, but the second that Ethan makes an actual like reasonable criticism of her, all of a sudden it's like the fucking worst thing in the entire world.
The thing ended that I was so triggered was because we talked about her. You saying that she's gonna come murder me, joking about it, and again, I participated in it. I get it, but it's like, what do you think? Like, that's triggering. And you put me in the like. Not everything is about this. I'm my own person. We're not BFFs. The same way when me and Shane, as soon as he said I don't trust you anymore, and Rylan lied on me, then it was okay. Then I get it. We're not ride or dies anymore. If he can make commentary about people, I can make commentary. If he's gonna like say I trashed someone in a video when I didn't, when it was commentary, when it's about a really serious issue, it's really serious to me. So him throwing my name in that title of having someone call in and pretend to be Keem's girlfriend and make kind of mocking her, making light of her, making jokes of. I don't care if that's how you handle it. This is a serious thing. Don't say I'm trashing it, but then you're making jokes about it. Because to me, that's it's a serious thing. I'm not in the business.
That's fair, actually. Like, as dumb as Trisha is about her video with the Keemstar, you know, like talking to a 20-year-old at 39, she was being serious. Now, of course, she's dumb, but like she still was being serious and taking it seriously. Ethan made a complete spectacle out of that situation. So
going to someone and be like, don't be with this person. Like, you know, people have to like learn their own things. It's just something. If I say it enough, if I say it loud enough, someone's gonna get it. Whether the guys are like, yeah, it's kind of inappropriate, it's kind of weird. Whether it's the girls being like, you know what, this is a red flag that I need to like look out for. Maybe help someone.
That's not what you were saying. You weren't saying it's a red flag and it's a little weird. You were saying that he was predatorizing her. Like, that's what the subtext was with your video. So what are you talking about? You're trying to downplay like how fucking ridiculous you're being.
I don't know. I wish somebody would have told me that maybe dating older guys isn't all as cracked up to be. I don't know. It's my platform. It's something that triggers me. It's something that I have a lot of trauma from, so I'm gonna speak on it. Not every relationship's the same.
And yet you still do it. You're dating like what, like a 40-something-year-old man. Like, you still engage with older guys. Like, it's like, I'm sure that you've had a trauma with older guys in the past, absolutely. But as most people do when it comes to trauma, usually they'll like convert their pain into pleasure, right? So like now she probably has a trauma with an older guy from the past, but now like she likes older guys for some reason. To own that situation. A lot of people have that. Like some people who are sexually assaulted, like they become very promiscuous as like, I'm gonna own this trauma, you know what I mean? And it's a completely like reasonable reaction. But like, Keemstar dating this girl doesn't mean she's creating the problem. It could very well maybe that this girl has a problem with, she may have been assaulted in the past and now maybe she likes older guys, but like, who are you to invalidate her attraction to an older guy that may treat her well because of like a past trauma that she had with an older guy that didn't treat her well? They're in an legal age range. Like, you're crafted by your environment and your experiences. If your experience is to get like predatorized by somebody who's older, and then for some reason you decide to become attracted to older people, as long as they're in a reasonable age range, and you can find somebody who's older than you, but they treat you with respect. Why? What's like? Are you saying that they're not deserving of that because their trauma makes it so they can never be happy? Now, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's just it's ridiculous.
Step parents, you know, and some people love their step parents, but I'm gonna speak on what I have. You know, I speak on things, right?
Oh, she just did a fucking cut. She's editing her videos. What the fuck? She edited her video. Wait, she stopped it at a half an hour. And now she edited 12 more minutes. So now we know she knows how to edit her videos, but she just decides not to because look at this.
Parents, you know, and some people love their step parents, but I'm gonna speak on what I have. You know,
you should have just cut like 37 minutes out of this video.
I speak on things, right? I speak on things. I thought it was implied that Keem striked Ethan's video. He didn't. I was like, you swear? Like, he told me what happened. Bottom line, Ethan's video got flagged. It was all implied that it was Keem. And I was a little scared. And then that's when I'm like, you know, when things go too far. When people lose sponsors, when people start, you know, threatening people's channels, taking them down, you know, like, it's super scary. And this isn't like a new thing if people sending hate back and forth between the fandoms. And Keemstar and Ethan have both really heavy fandoms that are really toxic, both hate me, but they're really scary of what they're capable of doing. You know, they send a ton of hate to this person.
Most fandoms hate you, Trisha, because you're a hateable person.
Ethan right now, and I get it. I get it, and I'm not. I get it. I don't know what I would do if I was in that situation, right? But like sending hate towards someone or something when there's like it doesn't feel like the right answer. I've never sent hate that way. I've had to defend myself on that video. I did 3-part thing, and you know I did make an apology because I'm so.
You try to send hate though, I think.
Sick of the hate of everyone like apologizing. And you know what? In my heart, I did feel a sincere apology for like having a little episode. I gotta handle myself way well. I watch it back. I handle myself a lot better. I stand by that today. You know. And so I was like, let me be the person to apologize, right? And I truly didn't expect an apology back. But not only did I not get an apology back, was like, I didn't accept the apology. And even behind the scenes, it's like, oh, that apology wasn't good enough. Okay, then I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And then we do the final, he asked me to do one more frenemies to promote the merch. The merch sells out, so he doesn't need to post the frenemies or whatever.
See, right there, do you love what she just said? She's like, he asked me to do one more frenemies to promote the merch. Okay, if that is true, then why would he have scheduled a frenemies episode before the merch was released? Or before they had any merch to give her? Because she came out of there with like a fake frenemies merch on or some bullshit. Why wouldn't you wait? Like, Ethan you literally could have done it a singular week later. If you were going to schedule it, you would have scheduled it at a time that you actually had the merchandise to promote. But you didn't have the merch. So if your narrative is that they did one last episode to promote the merch, which is what I was saying before, but you didn't have the merch, then like logically speaking, that episode wouldn't have been programmed for that day, which means that she's lying about the last episodes of the fucking frenemies, and that she probably just showed up and basically forced them to do some kind of a pseudo episode of frenemies, where she's like, let's do it, and then they sat down and probably just informally talked, and then she made up this whole narrative about how he didn't put it up because he didn't want to hold himself accountable for something. It's just bullshit.
But we do it. I get there. It's great. He does do an apology. He apologizes, and I'm just like,
he like apologized for like very small things, like again with the whole thing where he brought up like the candlestick in her butt or whatever, where she was like and he asked for the mom about it. It's like, oh, how do you feel about this, because it was on frenemies and she got offended. Like, that's what he apologized for. She's acting like he apologized for everything. This is a manipulative person. This is how I feel right now. That face is, this is how I feel. This is insane. You're fucking out of your mind, Trisha.
Tears come down my face because I'm just like, whoa, like, this is
oh, really? Tears were coming down your face? Crazy, because this is the first time you're ever saying that you were crying when he said that. You just said it was a nice thing in the past. Like, do you see how everything gets so exaggerated as long as it fits her fucking perspective?
For Ethan, this is a new
Oh my God.
You know, maybe that there was a little bit, he did something wrong in this situation too. And to me, that was, I mean, like, that would be the same, I think it'd be the same reaction if David or Jason never apologized to me.
I don't know how you could be fucking pro-life after this, because we need to legalize like 800 like abortions at like the 800th week, very clearly. Okay, all right, guys, it's fucking proof here.
No, like, yeah, I've apologized numerous times in countless ways and all this stuff like that. Like, I
no, you haven't. You literally, you're lying.
You know what? Like, yeah,
you took them all back. You deleted the apologies. And then you're like saying that you weren't really sympathetic or apologetic because you didn't feel like you had to be. And you go on everybody's podcast and you tell everybody that Ethan's the worst thing in the world. Like, I don't understand.
We shouldn't try to like hook up with you. Like, we knew that triggered you. Like, I'm sorry, you know, because that I would cry. And it doesn't even have to be on camera in that situation. You know what I mean? Like, it does, you know, because that's just not how they are. But Ethan, this is what he does, right? He puts it on the platform. And so we had a final podcast. It was, you know, we were a lot deeper. And then, you know, me and Dave and Jason were, in my opinion, I had a way deeper connection. I was hanging out with his, you know, family, and, you know, all of a sudden we become family and all this stuff. So to me, it was like, you know, at the very least, I'm getting all this hate. Me and Mose getting still. Mo's like, oh, he needs to leave. People are like, oh, he should just leave church. It's like, what? Like, this is a thing that happened. It's a professional thing.
Well, that's like a thing, though. That's not like getting hate. That's like somebody telling the truth. Like, yeah, Moses should leave Trisha. She's a bad person. Yes, that's not hatred towards you, Trisha. That's you just exposing you for the person you are. I hate it when people are sending me hate when they're just telling you that you're the person that you are. That's like Trisha's whole thing. Getting hate to her is when people just tell her that she is her. Trisha, you're very manipulative. Don't send me hate. So that's what you are. Trisha, you seem to be rather abusive towards Moses. Stop sending me hate. It's like, well, you know?
Like, it's, what? Like, he came with me. We're about to be married in a few weeks. You know, we're about to be married. We bought a house together. We are now a partnership. Whenever you're married to someone, whenever you're with someone, you're that partnership. My brother will put his wife before me. They'll put their child before me. Like, you know, that's how it.
You know what's really funny about her, like her valuing? I've just watched like an hour and a half like expose on like the history of Trisha Paytas. Her dad's been divorced twice. Her mom's been divorced 4 or 5 times. There's very clearly a very, very, very low value on marriage in her family, and she's acting like this is like some really loaded thing. For some people, it really is. Not for Trisha. Her family is not for Trisha.
It is. That's how it goes. That's what it is. You know, and he's been super respectful. He hasn't said anything about anyone publicly. He's super respectful about it all. And people are just berating him, and it just sucks. It sucks because he had gotten so much hate from the beginning for dating me when we did absolutely nothing at the beginning. It was just so nasty. That beginning was so rough. Our first few months were so rough because I was watching the H3 podcast and listening to the stuff they were saying that he said that he was dating me as a joke. Like, that came from him. That started from them. And I was sitting next to him and I lost my shit. I was like, what the? You're dating me to be funny. You're dating me as a gag. Like, and I don't know this man, so I'm just going by that. You know what I mean? It ruined it in so many ways. It's just like, how is that okay? I'm just. If you want someone to stop talking about you, ignore them. You know, if someone, you know, it just And that's even when I was on the podcast, I was like asking him, like, I don't know if you guys actually hate each other, because you guys are continuing back and forth. When you really despise someone, you disengage. Okay, right? Like, get me all those videos, I'm like, let me just disengage now. Because, like, the back and forth is because you want to fight, and sometimes you just have to give up the fight. And honestly, I want to give up the fight right now. I want to, like, surrender. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm so exhausted, like, defending myself. And
I love how her narrative is that she wants to surrender and give up the fight because she's exhausted, not because she has nothing intelligible to say about like this conversation. Like she has no argument or defense when it comes to her interactions with Ethan.
Repeating myself, but I have a feeling I'll be doing this 2 years from now when people are still coming for me and still saying I ended frenemies and I did this, and without knowing anything, based off lies, misunderstandings, misspeakings that are still up. I take my shit down, and I've tried to make my amends, or I tried to make my wrongs right with, you know, going on FaZe, and FaZe was really is it susceptible? Is that the word? Like, really open, because we talked about the David situation and consent and all the stuff like that. And he was really open, like, right? He asked me, we had different opinions, and I'm like, you know, there's times I think about it, and then there's times where he's like, oh, yeah, I see that. And Keem himself, who, yeah, like, I was like, why you gotta make fun of people's looks? Like, there's so many things to go for. Like, that's gross, that's low. Same thing I said Ethan when I was on the first podcast. It's like, you really gonna come from, you know, my looks when I'm the first person to make fun of how I look, like, and show before and after? Like, the picture that I was in the casket, I was a corpse in the casket, like, I posted that myself to show, like, the difference. Because that's my platform, that's what I do. I show Instagram versus reality and all that. It's just, and when Keem's like, you know what, I've had some bad takes on mental health, like, to me, that was a moment where I'm just like, you know, and maybe people call it the bare minimum, you know, expecting the least or whatever, but I was like, yeah, have a little respect. And I said it after too. I'm like, I'm not gonna be friends. They're not my vibe.
I like how receptive she is to Keem giving her barely any like affirmation of like, yeah, I guess maybe I'm starting to learn more about things. It's just so bare minimum. And that's perfectly acceptable to her. But when Ethan genuinely apologizes, it's not enough for her. It's fucking weird.
Like they said themselves, they do the podcast like they're you know, they're just bros talking, and like, hey, those are people that like I have nothing in common with. I don't get the vibes, I don't get the jokes, you know what I mean? That's not my vibe, it's not my scene. But I was happy to have a discussion and talk, and you know, I knew it would create buzz, but I didn't know it was gonna come from Ethan being like, I'm really sad about this, as if this all is a personal attack against Ethan. When I've gone on podcasts in the past few months,
it could have totally been
past few years, always talking to people who either dislike me, I've had disagreements with, including Ethan himself. That's how we met. Like, I've always done it.
Bro, every podcast you've gone on, you've slandered Ethan. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, oh my God, this is so annoying. Like, who cares? You said this already. We get it. Why do you talk so much? We don't need 42 minutes. This could have been fucking 7 minutes.
I will go on anyone's podcast.
Oh, God.
And talk. And have discussions. Even if someone hates me, those are the people that I want to go on. I wish I could have a conversation with like Jeff Whittick too and be like, you know, without the threatening things. Because I'm like, I'm down to talk if you want. If you don't want to, that's fine. And some people like the beef back and forth. And if I'm being completely honest, I know Keem loves it. He's texting me, right? Like, this is great. I'm texting him like, this gives me anxiety.
Of course you both love it because you're getting attention. Stop pretending that you're fucking full of anxiety when it comes to these things. This is what you do. You talk to people that you shouldn't talk to because you think they're morally reprehensible whenever it's like convenient. It's like, oh, you fold your morals every single time you need to make money. That's really what it comes down to.
It really does trigger me. It gets me to this really upset place where I'm just like, I don't care anymore. I had to call myself and I had to get off the internet yesterday. I'm like, you know what? But I'm like, let me just address, like, all the comments are gonna be this on TikTok everywhere. Like, you know, let me address it. I don't know. I always address things straight on. I can't believe I have to, but this is not
never address things straight on.
This gives me anxiety. This gives me a lot. It really does. But I think I'm not pushed over. I'm not gonna be ran off the internet. I'm not gonna be bullied off of something that I love doing, that I love posting. This is what I've done. I post every day for the past.
Nobody's bullying you off the internet, Trisha. You are such a wonderfully terrible person that you get an acceptable amount of hatred, and then you go, why do you hate me? She doesn't think she does bad things. She thinks that people just have a bad perception of the things she does. She doesn't take accountability for herself. She thinks that she is always right.
15 years, like, I'm not who I am because of Ethan. I'm not who I am because of David Dobrik. I'm not who I am because of Shane Dawson.
Well, you are who you are probably because you had like absolutely no structure when you were younger. Your mom and dad split. Your dad left to go to California. Your mom allowed you to not really have any responsibility. Every single time you cried a little bit, she moved you from school to school, which is why you've been to like 5 different schools growing up. This is what we all learned on like her past. She got mad at her stepmom and her dad when she lived with them for a short period because they made her do chores like clean the house, like help clean the house, not even clean them, and do her homework. And then she got upset about it because they had a nanny, because the dad had a lot of money because he like did a startup company and he made it big. Like, this is the kind of person you are. And but your mom, on the other hand, was like, yeah, you could drop out of high school at 16. Yeah, I support you doing OnlyFans. Yeah, I support you being a stripper. She wanted to be a stripper at 16 per own admission. And her mom was like, I support that. Now, listen, if my daughter became a stripper, I would support my daughter. I wouldn't support the stripping. But imagine supporting a 16-year-old being a stripper. Like, you think you'd want better for your kid, you know? I would be like, oh, my daughter, like my 18-year-old daughter is going to be a stripper. Okay, well, I think it's gross and dangerous, but maybe I'll buy you a gun or something. I'm going to support you, not this profession, but her mom supported her doing the profession to understand these things. Zero structure. Like, Trisha was doomed from the start with, like, terrible family members.
Why do you think Shane came to me?
The brother that, like, she is so close to and loves so much is apparently embarrassed to be around her because she's ashamed of who she's become. And that was, like, her biggest, like, the person she looked up to the most. Like, do you not see? Can you not see how gross this is?
I was around doing my own thing, making my own way. And Shane's left, Jenna Marbles left, the Shaved Tards have left, Hannah Means, all the OG people have left. Who's left? Me, Jax Films, and Phil Franco. Okay? Like, that, okay? It's a hard thing to still be here. And those people they try and say they're unproblematic. And I'm problematic. I'm still here. And, like, this is all I got. This is all I'm doing. It's all I want to do. Like, so when it starts becoming, oh, videos are being taken down and strikes and going after people's sponsors, and so, then there's like, let me make some peace in this situation, which I think.
Don't you like how, like, I remember the time like a year or so ago where like Ethan did like a content nuke or whatever on Keemstar and like advocated for him to lose his sponsors, and I think that's shitty. But Trisha, this is the first time she's expressed that this is shitty. Conveniently, when she's locked into an argument with Ethan, you realize she doesn't believe these things are wrong that are happening. She just knows that she can use this to make Ethan look worse. And the reaction she's expecting is people like me, not like creators, but like people with my mindset, to like watch you and go, yeah, you know what? I do hate Ethan. I'm a fucking idiot with no mental, like, with no ability to think critically. No mental capacity. That's what she's expecting people to do. She's just trying to weaponize the people that don't like Ethan to be like, yeah, you're right, Trisha. You're so smart. But, like, you're expected to only watch 5 minutes of this fucking nonsense. That's what most of these creators do. They make long videos so you don't watch them.
I think Ethan should do it with people. Because
it's like, you can have long videos that are really engaging and exciting and, like, have, like, good content. But, like, Trisha doesn't. She has fucking 42-minute takes that could have been 7.5 minutes.
He's disagreed with. I've seen him tweet Lana Rhodes, who he made fun of her open, flappy, whatever. And I was like, hey, you know what? If you're trying to like make amends, make things right, be a feminist now, be on that side, then great, I applaud that. Because I do think he has changed. I do think he has changed in the sense he's not attacking women or people based on their appearances. Like, I think that's a huge growth. I do, you know?
Okay.
The way I feel like I've changed, you know? I keep something on the podcast yesterday, like, I don't think I haven't changed. I don't think you have. I don't think change is a bad thing. I think I've changed quite a bit. I'm like very imperfect, and no matter what I do or say, I'm the low man on the totem pole. I am the one without a loud fan base. They are not. She's actually
changed by becoming less honest. How could you fucking believe that? After watching this hour-and-a-half fucking video,
let go and just like, hey, they don't, you know, and if they, you know, I've noticed this with these fandoms, the vlog squad, the H3 one, like they blindly go attack people. I just said an amount, the snakes, the clowns, just nothing.
That's nothing what you
insightful.
do. That's
nothing that can help or anything like that. And it's just like, you know, it's fine. I'll always be that person that is just like has to speak up for myself, and I will. All right, I'm gonna go, but
thank God.
I'm just, like, I don't know. I can't. I'm not apologizing for doing what I've always done to do what I need to do to continue my career.
Dude, she said she's gonna go, and she goes for another 2 minutes.
Podcasts are the new collabs. I used to collab with every single person back in 2010. Anyone want to collab with me? I collab with Joey Graceffa, Jeffree Star.
Hey, let's collab. Trisha, you want to collab? Let's collab. Hey, Trisha Paytas, can I ask you a question? Why are you so dishonest all the time?
Colleen, like anybody, that's how it worked back then. Now it's going on people's podcasts and promoting, and it works. My main income's on my OF. I have to go. People, especially like a new audience, males. Okay, there's males gonna be on here. If they want to go on my OF, if they want to go to make fun of me,
I've already looked at it. It's not worth it. It's gross. It's really not. Like, it's not really particularly enjoyable. It's like, you know what it is? It's not even really that she's unattractive physically. It's that, like, she just is such a bad person that, like, you can't get a boner. You know what I mean?
Here, as long as you pay that $5 mission, I don't care. Come do it. Whatever. Come harass me on there. Pay $5. Come do it. You know what I mean? Like.
But I like how that
I'm over everyone. Like,
I like how she threw in an OnlyFans plug. It wouldn't be a Trisha Paytas video without her plugging her OnlyFans, though.
Looming something over our heads, looming something over our heads. Moses Sire are tight. I don't know. I guess people just do that to try and like whatever. He's responding to people now. I told him, you know, he tried to bite his tongue. You know what I mean? He's running and. You know, I don't need anyone to stick up for me. I don't need anyone to fight my battles. You know, I tell it to my mom. I tell it to my sister. My sister, you know, was trying to stick up for me in the situation. And I was like, you know, at the end of the day, like, I can fight my own battles. I can, and that includes anything with Ethan. I can, you know, I can do it. I can handle it myself. I don't need Moses being here being like, well, this, and this happened. You know what I mean? Me and Ethan, or me and Keemstar, I don't need Ethan to back me up on this. You know, I'm grown. You know what I mean?
Well, That's debatable. You're not quite grown, Trisha. You have the mentality of like an actual 14-year-old.
Yes, frenemies is over, and that was a huge cushion crutch because I did have this huge fan base that was the H3 fan base that will go and just be so supportive and so loyal. But at what cost? You know, what are you like? Now, what are you attacking? If there's, you know what I mean? Like, I can do it on my own still. It's not gonna be as loud. It's not gonna make as much noise. You know, I try to talk about the Anna Campbell situation. Try to talk about situations that other people aren't talking about that aren't getting buzz. I try and do my best on my own, and that's all I've ever been able to do. I've never. I'm up, down, whatever. All right, that's it. So I don't block people. I don't do whatever. So if you really need to do that, if that's what you're gonna, okay, that's gonna be my social media for the next few weeks.
I really like it's like she's playing with the authority. She's like, if you guys need to harass me, just do it. I don't care. I'm a mature adult. And it's like tomorrow she's gonna like fucking cry and make a video about how she ate 7 pounds of ice cream. Ice cream mukbang. I'm sad. You know what I mean?
It's fine, but it's. I've adjusted. I'm done, and I want to surrender. But hey, if there's more, I don't want people. I'm not gonna have people like lie on me, and I'm not gonna have people try and silence me or try and own me. I'm not in a cult. I'm not a cult member. I don't blindly follow. Okay, this is not how it works. Especially when you're also gonna attack me, my family, my significant other, all that stuff. So that's it.
Wow, that was garbage. What a dog shit video. Somebody in my chat said, for context, and I don't know if it's true, but they said apparently Trisha asked Ethan and Philip DeFranco to back her on posts on age gap relationships. Did that actually happen?